Oftentimes, celebrities aren't just people that entertain us, and they're people that we look up to for more than just their work. And since a lot of celebrities are the pinnacle of success, hearing what they had to overcome before or even during their success can be a huge motivation for all their fans. Personally, I'm a huge fan of autobiographies because I love learning how my favorite celebrities became who they are now. And they usually help to give me some guidance on things that I should do if I want to be in their position, you know? Hey, what's up everyone? It's Mackenzie Smith here, and today on BTS, I'm going to be filling you in on the top 10 most inspiring celebrities who either had to overcome hardships before they were famous or struggled with things well in the spotlight that we might not have known about. In at number 10, Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was silently struggling during his time in the film industry, but he put on a brave face and entertained the world through all that. Boseman was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016, which eventually progressed into stage 4 before 2020. And even though he was making tons of box office hits in that time, no one knew, other than just a few family members. As well, it just came out that he took a pay cut on a movie he did with Sienna Miller so that they would be paid equally. And that kind of humility is something that we may never see again, and he was truly just a good and kind person that we can all look up to. In at number 9, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is someone we know today as one of the most successful people in the television industry, with one of the longest running and most successful daytime shows ever, as well as a whole empire, including a TV network and magazine. But with all her success, it can be easy to forget that she started out in some of the worst conditions that there is, with her growing up in rural Mississippi in the 60s, going back and forth between living with her mother, her grandmother, and her father, and then back. At some point, she was forced to sleep on the porch, as well as she was regularly beaten by her parents. She was also abused from the ages of 10 to 14, getting pregnant at 14 years old, but a few weeks after she gave birth, the child passed away. Oprah is someone who endured more bad times than most people can imagine, but she's also a reminder that there can be better times ahead. And at number 8, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is known for his on-screen antics that include his goofy and over-the-top humor that made box office hits like Dumb and Dumber a huge success. But he wasn't always the huge success that we know and love. And when he was only a teenager, his father lost his job and they became so poor that he started living in a van. At that point, his family needed money so badly that he quit school and worked a factory job after school to help make ends meet. They also moved into a van on a relative's lawn, making him basically homeless in that time. After working for a few years at the age of 16, he quit school to focus on comedy full time. He moved to LA shortly after, where he would park on Mulholland Drive every night and visualize his success, even telling Oprah that he wrote himself a check for $10 million, and right before the fake check was going to be coming due, he got booked for Dumb and Dumber and would be getting paid about that amount. And against all odds, he never gave up on his comedy career, and that's why he's the success that he is today. And at number 7, Vera Wang. Vera Wang is one of the biggest names in wedding dresses, but a lot of people don't know that she got her start designing wedding dresses at the age of 40. And she's someone who didn't realize her calling until later in life, but is still hugely successful. But before design, she was an athlete, but failed to qualify for the 1968 Olympic figure skating team. After failing as a skater, she worked at Vogue for years, but didn't have much success there either. But after those up and downs, she found her true calling in wedding dresses, as well as getting involved in the jewelry designing industry. And I'm just personally so happy when I hear that people found success when they were a little older, because I think it's hard these days not to compare yourself to people younger than you, but not everyone finds success in their early 20s. And at number 6, Casey Neistat. Casey isn't technically a celebrity, but he's an A-list YouTuber and entrepreneur, so I think it's close enough. Casey is another person who found his massive success at a later age, and it was his adaptability that helped him get there. When he was a teenager, he lashed out and was part of the bad kids. He ended up running away at the age of 15 and moved in with some friends, then some older girls. He then moved in with his older brother, and his girlfriend got pregnant. He had to drop out of school and was working as a dishwasher when his son was born at the age of 17. The family was so poor that they moved into a trailer park and relied on welfare for some time. Shortly after that, he got his first iMac computer, and that's when he discovered his love for filmmaking. Many years later, he made a TV show that he ended up selling to HBO called The Neistat Brothers. He then later started a social media company called Beam that ended up failing, but at the same time, he started daily vlogging on YouTube, and that's when he found all his success. But his videos and mantras on life have motivated me and many others for years, and I honestly still rewatch his old videos when I need some, inspiration. Halfway through number 5, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Phoebe is an actress and screenwriter who has recently become one of the most sought after screenwriters entertainers on TV. She created and wrote the show Fleabag, which she also starred in, and won numerous awards for, as well as wrote Killing Eve, another breakout success. But she wasn't always successful and had many low points in the beginning of her career, and when she started writing Fleabag, she was broke and had to create her own theater company just so it would be seen. And when you take into account that only about 14% of primetime TV is actually written by women, her story is even more incredible. And at number 4, Ariana Grande. So I don't have to tell you guys how big of a star that Ariana is, because I mean, you should already know. But in the earlier stages of her career, she went through tons of tragedies that could have made her leave the industry for good, but thankfully for her fans, she stayed. One of the most notable was the Manchester attack that took place at her concert in May of 2017 and killed 23 people. And obviously that had a devastating impact on her, and she had to take a break for months before returning to her tour. But she showed strength to her fans, returning to Manchester shortly after to have a benefit concert for the victims and to show love in the face of hate. But this is sadly not the only tragedy she had to endure. After she broke up with Mac Miller and quickly got engaged to Pete Davidson, Mac suffered a horrible OD and passed away suddenly. And since they had just broken up, Ariana was blamed for his passing. That again had a huge impact on her, and she ended up breaking off her engagement and taking time for herself to heal. But again, even with those horrible public events taking place, she stayed strong for her fans and showed us all how to move forward when bad things happen. And at number 3, Bethany Hamilton. Bethany was a professional surfer until a tragic encounter with a shark had the potential to stop it in its tracks. On October 31st, 2003, when Hamilton was just 13 at the time, she was attacked by a 14-foot-long tiger shark, severing her left arm just below the shoulder. And even though most people would avoid the water for years after an event like that, it didn't stop Bethany, with her getting back to surfing just 1 month after the attack. She first started using a surfboard that would make it easier for her to surf, but after teaching herself to surf with one arm, she used regular boards again. She entered her first major competition on January 10th of 2004, only a few months after the attack, and she is now a professional surfer. And her experience was so inspirational that a movie was made on her life called Soul Surfer, which is just like a super great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you really should. And at number 2, J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling is one of the most successful authors of all time, with her Harry Potter novels turning into a global brand worth billions of dollars. And her success as an author is a rags to riches story. She lived on government welfare for years in the UK while she was a single mother, writing the Harry Potter series. When she was shopping the book around to publishers, she was so poor she couldn't afford a computer or even the cost of photocopying the 90,000 word book, so she manually typed out each version to send to publishers. But the book wasn't picked up quickly, and Rowling was rejected by about a dozen publishers before she found one that would actually publish the book. And although JK has been involved in some controversy about her stance on trans issues, there's no denying that her story has inspired millions of people across the world, and her Harry Potter series was probably one of the first books that most children read. For me, it was probably the first real book that I ever read when I was younger. And finally, at number 1, Shania Twain. Shania is one of the most successful people in country music, but her childhood growing up in a small town in Canada was full of tons of hardships. Any number of these things could have stopped her career in its tracks, but she pushed through and is now the amazing woman that we know today. Her parents divorced when she was very young, so she grew up with her mom and stepfather. They were very poor, so she started singing in bars to make extra money when she was just 8 years old. And during her childhood, she was subjected to abuse from her stepfather and was forced to witness her mother getting hurt by him very often. And then even more tragedy struck the family. When she was only 21, both her mother and stepfather were killed in a car accident, and she was responsible to raise her 3 younger siblings who were in their teens at the time. She performed in bars and resorts until her youngest brother graduated high school. After is when she left for Nashville and turned into the huge star that she is today. Alright everyone, that's all for the list today. Let me know your thoughts below. Who do you agree with, or who do you think I missed that should be on this list? But before I head out, I'm gonna shout out some comments from my video on the top 10 celebrities you won't recognize. So Sunflower said, "I cannot believe that's Aubrey. I refuse to believe she's altering her pictures that drastically. I refuse." I mean, I don't know too much about Photoshop, but it just seems like, how is that humanly possible to alter your photos that much? You know what I mean? The ones when we're walking your dog to her Instagram, those were taken days apart, allegedly. It's like, how is that possible? In a way, it's like, I don't even believe that's humanly possible to alter your photos that much. It's a completely different people. I don't know. I'm with you. I just refuse to believe it's even possible, but it seems like that's the case. The non-convinced granny said Lil' Kim should sue her surgeons. I mean, I'm sorry, but yeah. Then Loveless78 said, Val Kilmer looks totally different too. He looks horrible and sad. Health issues and a voice box to talk and throat in age 2. But he used to be a stallion. Mickey Rourke reminded me of him. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea who that was, but I wanted to show that out. I'm sure a lot of people agree with what you're saying about Val. Then Macy Ballard said, I was trying to place the voice when the video started before they showed her. I was going through everybody. Mackenzie pops into my head, but I was like, she's on this channel? Now she is, hey. And yes, you are one of my first comments that, that I want to shout out. Thank you so much for that support. Yeah, I guess it is when you're hearing the voice, you're like, who is that? Yeah, so I'm just gonna be, I'm just gonna be on the channel a little bit, obviously. The other hosts are still gonna be on the channel. It's just, I'll be in some videos now too. We just need a little help on the channel, so here I am. Alright guys, thank you so much for sticking around if you made it all the way here. Make sure to like and sub below. I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith, and I will see you in the next one. But before we get into the list, I want to let you guys know that we are launching... Was that too loud or the... I just heard like footsteps. That was all fine?
Yeah.
Okay.